Yo, piece of the planet. You know what it is? West Side. We out here, man. I'm so juiced. I'm back in America. You know what I'm saying? This is my first thing since I got back from the UK. Shout out to everybody for real, for real. Plus player got married out there. Shout out to everybody for real, for real. You know what I'm saying?
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I got a guy on who I've known actually for a really long time. And I remember the day I met him and saw him destroy some people. And we've been cool ever since. I've been wanting to get him on the pod. Hardcore jiu-jitsu champion in the gi, in the no gi. And he's been killing a lot of people for a long time under Kyle Terra. Benji Silva, Kyle Terra
Thank you.
movement, man. How you doing today, bro?
I'm doing well, man. I can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm really good. I'm really good. So dude, you know what I want to talk to you about
Hmm.
before I talk to you about anything else is we met at a Metamoris qualifier where I was like
Yes.
organizer and you came through. What year
Yep.
was
I want to say 2015, 2014.
that? Yeah. That was
Yeah.
a cool time, bro.
Yeah.
It's funny, man. Like, I have a really lucky life. I get to come around a lot of like really incredible people from totally different spaces. And I remember I was doing this thing with Halleck Gracie when he was doing these Metamoris like local qualifiers. Metamoris, if you don't know about it, it was one of the coldest comp things in the mix for a bit. Google that, YouTube that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but so I was doing like a local qualifier thing, and he came with Kyle and Kim Tara
And
and
Yuri.
Yuri.
Yeah.
Man, listen, that happened at El Nino's, and it was like they cleared the whole gym out just so we could do that. And bro, like I remember seeing you and being like, this dude is gonna be a factor. Like I did. I was like, this guy's gonna be a factor for real. Can you tell me though? And just because I've been a friend and a fan for so long,
Yeah.
like I actually realized I don't really know your journey, dog. Like, how did you get in the mix? You know, what was it like when you first started training with Kyle? Let's have this conversation, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in San Diego. My folks are split. Dad moved to Northern California for tech stuff. I grew up down in San Diego, but bouncing back and forth. I want to say around 19 or 20, I moved up. Originally, I was going to college for video, and I came up here to do some intern stuff at my dad's company doing video compression. My little brothers, they're probably my middle brother is, 4 years younger than me. So that was kind of like my only friend when I first moved up here. Um, One of our coworkers actually got Strike Force tickets. This is before it was, when it's still the SAP Center or
Yeah.
HP Pavilion.
HP Pavilion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we went there, and I grew up doing amateur boxing, and my two cousins in Boston are pro boxers, so a
Okay.
lot of boxing
If
and
they
stuff.
if they're from Boston, bro, they got hands.
Yep, yep,
I know they hurt people, bro. Boston.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, and then so I was just watching them fight, and I just kind of chirp in, like, oh man, these guys' striking is kind of trash. And then my dad's coworker was like, hey, there's a place called Fairtex in Mountain View. You should go check out if you're interested in this stuff. And then I remember like one random like weekend, I was just sitting at home, bored, and it was when I first moved to the Bay Area. I was like, you know what? Let's go take a trial class. And then from that point, I just signed up, didn't know what I was getting into. Went there for the Muay Thai class, did the intro, and I was like, this is cool. I could probably meet some people in here and do this for fitness. And so started going to Muay Thai, and I was there for like 2 months just doing Muay Thai, glancing over at the Jiu-Jitsu guys, and they just looked intimidating, to be honest with you. As like intimidating I am, at the time, I was just like, yeah, those guys are actually like the MMA guys. So work up to that. And I was big on like earning people's respect too. And this culture is big on that. And so over time, I think around 2 months, I felt a little bit more confident knowing some people in the gym. And I just a one-off day, I could see the jiu-jitsu class at a low attendance. And I asked the front desk if it was okay if I jumped into the class. And they said, absolutely. So they introduced me to Leopoldo Serrao from Serrao Academy.
Yeah.
That was my original professor.
Shout out Sorrel.
Yeah, shout out to Leopoldo. He's, besides my amazing relationship with Kyle, Leopoldo gave me that passion. He took me under his wing. I lived with him at his house on his couch for
Oh wow.
many years, chasing being an MMA fighter. But back to that, I did my first class in jiu-jitsu and I got smoked by some big dudes. And I was like, this is kind of fun. And kind of found my way in at that point. And so I just started showing up to class. And then they saw that I had some, decent striking from my background in boxing. And so at that point, the Leopoldo asked if I wanted to, I told him I wanted to fight MMA,
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
And or at least try it. And he's like, yeah, you could come to the fighter practice. Showed up to fighter practice, and I mean, it was rough, but I stuck with it for around 3 months. So at the time of being at the gym, I was there for about 3 months, almost four. Do you remember 10-15 Folsom used to put on amateur fights?
Yeah.
And it was like a nightclub in SF.
Mm-hmm.
And still to this day, this is a crazy, how I even just manifested and made it into this culture and this line of work. Um, Someone weighed in the day before for to fight one of Gil and Jake Shields' students. The day of the fight, my buddy Brandon Korea shows up. He's there to one of the fighters on the team. And the guy who weighed in turns his phone off, gets cold feet, and our coach is like blowing him up, blowing him up. Everyone's trying to find out where this guy is because everyone's meeting at the gym to go, carpool
Yeah.
up to the city.
Yeah.
And he no showed. And so our coach started panicking and he was like, we need to fill somebody in. It's gonna look bad on the gym, as me
Yeah.
as a coach. And I mean, we're talking day of the fight. And so they told the promoter, hey, I'll find somebody. So Leopoldo asked everyone on the mat, who's around 185? And everybody is kind of like quiet.
Yeah.
I'm only a white belt at this point.
Yeah.
And people are just kind of like quiet, cold feet. People have been training many
Yeah.
years. And I said, I am, just threw my hand up. And then, you can tell because it's like a white belt and anyone like, okay, but
He's like,
okay.
anyone else?
Yeah, yeah, and then eventually nobody,
Nobody.
this brown belt at the time, not gonna even name his name, was like, no, I work at Google, man. I don't need to do any of this. And so he pulled me off to the bench, and I remember he sat me down. He's like, look, you don't have to do this. I respect you already that you raised your hand willingly to do this.
Mm.
And I said, hey, man, I don't got any friends up here. I mean, I got nothing else to do on my Friday night,
Let's go.
you know? And so I remember getting in the car and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, I'm like, dude, it was like, we're gonna jump in the deep end and see what happens. But luckily, like with experience in fighting and stuff, I wasn't like scared in the fighting aspect. It was more like worrying about the ground aspect because I wasn't proficient in that yet.
You knew that was a necessary hole that you were trying to fill, but not
Yeah,
yet there. Yeah.
yeah. So, I felt one of my teammates, he's like, just keep trying to sprawl and get up. Just keep tagging them with your strikes and just move.
Sprawl and brawl. Sprawl and
Yeah.
brawl.
Yeah. And so I end up getting there and the promoter is like, the coach is pissed, we want to see this guy on the scale. I had a hoodie on, jeans and shoes. I stood on the scale at like 187 or something like that with
Yeah.
all my stuff on. So I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
underweight.
Yeah.
His fighter is definitely now hydrated over
Right.
that. And so he immediately goes, yeah, we'll take the fight. And yeah, I end up becoming the main event of this show
Of
because
his life, bro. Oh my
because the
God.
main freaking guy I'm fighting is Gil's, Jake's, and Dan Black's student.
Wow.
So, which is going to be a full circle moment once I get to my MMA career is, I ended up training with Scrap Pack for many years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I ended up fighting, I think his name is Jerome. I think
Hmm.
he's a chef now. Shout out to him, but
Shout out to Jerome.
and I ended up winning a split decision, and I just knew at that moment. I mean, I remember like the fight was over, and I was like, you know what? If it doesn't go my way, I didn't get knocked out,
Yeah,
I didn't get tapped, nothing. Like we're
yeah.
good. Um, and they raised my hand. It was the most raw, exciting feeling. And I grew up racing professional motocross, and I
He's,
mean,
he's like, I've done some exciting things.
yeah, I've done some exciting stuff, dude. Jumped really, really far on my bike, done a lot of crazy races,
Yeah.
and this was more primal and more spiritual in the regard of like oneself. And
Damn, dude, you said two words that people would not, primal and spiritual. Like I understand,
yeah,
but if somebody doesn't, can you take that, break that down?
yeah. I think the primal side of it is I couldn't, I have ADHD, so like my brain's constantly firing, thinking of different things, and I was so present and quite like people get spooked on the crowd. It's like I have earmuffs on when
Mm,
I'm competing or when I'm fighting. It's just
mm.
I felt so locked in on that one thing I'm trying to do is survive.
You were deeply
And
present.
I think your sympathetic nervous system firing, so that's your fight or flight mode, and I don't know, you're just so present with what's going on. And I was able to just feel like, I don't know, free, just so free. And that free feeling um, made me feel very spiritual in the regard of like, you're a powerful creature that, was created. And, I have this one body, this one life, and you might as well do some fun shit with it. And
Bro.
I don't know, it rattled me so much. I remember calling my dad on the way home. And I was like, hey, dad, you know, I told my dad on the phone I just got in an MMA fight. And he was like, why didn't you call me? I was like, you're at work, man. You do sales, And then he's like, you're crazy. And I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna pursue this, And my dad's was very supportive of that. And so he was like, look, you're gonna sell all your dirt bikes so that that's not a temptation and that
Yeah.
will hurt you. If you get hurt, you can't
He's deep,
fight. Da, da, da.
bro.
Yeah, and
He's
he's like,
deep.
you could use the money for, your training, your gear, etc. And yeah, at that point, I just dove in deep. I started training 2, 3 times a day. Um, and Leopoldo just was like, hey, well, if this is what you want to do, we'll make it happen. And then just kept training with him, kept training with them. And around, I think it was 2013. Yeah, 2013. I was winning, Jiu-Jitsu by the Bay, all the local stuff,
Oh,
US
yeah.
Open.
Shout out to Sergio
Yes,
Silva.
sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And just started winning a bunch of stuff around here. And my first tournament for IBJJF was No Gi Worlds. Now,
Okay.
keep in mind, Leopoldo is a Luta Livre instructor. For those of you who don't know, Luta Livre is the original No Gi.
Yeah.
Um,
Factology. Speak on.
yeah. So, just a little bit of lineage on that. So I
Yeah.
grew up doing, Luta Livre, doing leg locks, heel hooks, toe holds as a white belt.
Yeah.
So, by the time I was already allowed to do them, I was already very
Yeah.
proficient and
Yeah.
not
They say, you
scared
know
of
what
them.
this is?
Yeah. And the problem was before all the new modern, tournaments and rule sets where they're allowing lower belts to do these things, that wasn't a thing back then. So,
Bro, people don't, I remember, hey, that's a real thing. Um, it was
no.
the game.
Yeah. You're like you'll see that when you're a black belt, you
Yeah.
know?
They
You
had a
know?
guy when I trained at Charles Gracie's, the original Charles Gracie, on the right side of the street when you was coming up, top of the hill. Yo, there was a OG there, bro. Now that I think about it, he had to be in his 50s. He was Brazilian, bro. His nickname was the Shoemaker. Bro, anytime you rolled with him, bro, it was happening. No, the Shoemaker was a shout out to the Shoemaker. I don't know. I don't
Shoemaker.
remember his name, bro.
That's scarier than the boogeyman, you
I
know?
know, because if he got a hold of that foot,
Yeah.
boy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
always got a hold of that foot. But keep going, keep going. That
No,
though,
absolutely.
just about that part of the culture.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Leo's like, "Hey, you should do this tournament." Told my dad he needs to do this tournament. And I think the naiveness at the time it was the best thing because I didn't know anybody's name in the IBGF. I didn't give a shit. Like,
That's Roger Gracie. You're just like, hey, what's up? You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's important sometimes.
yeah, it really is. And I going there, I'm like, I'm the baddest dude in the Bay, so like there's no way I'm not gonna be able to beat other people from somewhere else. So I go to Nogi Worlds. I end up taking second, and
Oh,
I beat one of Cyborg's, best,
dudes.
blue belts at the time. Um,
That's a
you
statement.
know, and yeah, I just kind of kept traction going, kept winning match by match, and then ended up in the finals. Ended up losing the finals, but I remember walking around with my medal on, and like my coach knew Verdum, and Verdum walked up to talk to Leopoldo, and he like grabbed my medal. And he's like, "Hey, congratulations, man!" And then as I walk around, people saying congratulations, and I was like, "Man, this is kind of nice." Like I didn't realize it was that big of a deal until maybe like a month after. And then
Really? Then it was
yeah,
hitting you like, yo.
because I started going on the internet and like kind of doing more research on IBJF, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh shit, this is kind of actually a big deal.
Very,
And
very.
so yeah, I from that point, my Leopoldo left Fairtex, started opening his own gym.
Yeah.
And so at that time, because he was opening his own gym, is mostly Muay Thai. I was delegating my MMA stuff with Gilbert. So
Mhm.
yeah, I started joining to train MMA with Gilbert, do my boxing at Westside Boxing with Patrick Reagan. He's no longer in the Bay, but great man, really changed my life on the striking aspect and my amateur boxing career as well. And yeah, just my dad was just delegating like we're gonna get all the best, specialists of what you need, strength and conditioning, Sparta Performance, and yeah, I remember around maybe the first month, Leo, I was like, Leo, we should probably do gi here too, not just no gi. And then he's like, oh, we're going to. And then I went on YouTube, and one of Kyle's first videos he posted, I think it was with Samir, he was doing like a reverse daily Hiva. And I just studied it. I was like, damn, this is kind of cool.
That's dope.
Yeah. And I went to practice and I started doing it to people just from like visually seeing it. I mean, it's probably not spot on, but I was doing
Yeah.
it.
He was pulling it off.
Yeah, and Leo, it caught his attention because he didn't teach me that, and he was like, "Hey, who showed you that?" And I was like, "Oh, this guy named Chow Terra, or I couldn't even pronounce his
Yeah, you
name
couldn't
right."
say it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Kaio Terra," and I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, started laughing. He's like, "Man, I've known him since he was like 14." And so he calls him. If those of you know, like, the Brazilian folks back in the day, over here at least, they would have the Boost mobile phones with the
Yeah, yeah,
little,
he had them little.
yeah, the
Yeah, yeah.
walkie-talkie. And I remember him like calling Kyle, and then they start talking, and then next thing you know, we're going down to his academy now, Kyle Terra Academy. At the time, it was Institute of Martial Arts.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
I
was
remember.
Caesar Gracie. Remember, it was
Yeah,
like,
I
oh
remember the Institute of Martial Arts. Yeah.
yeah. So he started bringing us down there to comp training, and it was like me, Kenyella, and Ryan Walsh, and they were his two blue belts. So I would always train with them, and then the black belts would train or beat
Yeah.
up on us.
Yeah, yeah.
So. It just got tough and good in a really hard room. And then he had his first um, Pan Am's camp.
Oh, okay.
And these were honestly some of my best memories in this sport so far. And I still to this day was the Pan's camps and Worlds camps that Kyle would put on where, I got to become friends with Leandro Lowe.
Yeah.
And, like he would bring in like, Famiga and, a bunch of Caprito, a lot of like
Jeez.
heavy we had Tiquinho in there, Mackenzie Dern, like all these people, the Kit Dale, like
Dude, that's
so many
awesome.
like Tanner Rice when Tanner
Yeah.
was,
Tanner Rice,
super
Rice Brothers,
active.
shout out.
Yeah. And so we had all these like really amazing athletes that I looked up to in the sport, and we're training, learning from them techniques every session. And it was really eye-opening. And then I ended up taking third at Pan Am's in gi. And that was my first like big gi tournament. And I got third, and it was from honestly training in that camp the whole time.
You
And
knew.
I just again compound my interest and like my return on investment of like, hey, you're doing the right thing. So
Yeah, dude.
just
Incredible.
kept stacking them up. And then you know, I was still fighting MMA. I had an 8-2 record for MMA, and I was, training, doing that, trying to balance, competition, but competing in jiu-jitsu helped my MMA, so I wasn't like rusty all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had my last MMA fight at Six Flags Vallejo, and I had the first round submission. And shout out to Gil, everyone at Scrap Pack.
Shout out.
A lot of homies over there, and Gil gave me a lot of opportunities and a lot of help, a lot of selfless, invested time, and really, I mean, I can't say enough amazing things about Gilbert Melendez, to be honest with you. He's a real one, dude. And
Bro.
I had my last fight. I had a boxing fight, 162-pound belt for boxing, and Kyle sat me down and he was like, "Hey, you should think about pausing your fight career and just focus on jiu-jitsu." And, at this point, I'm heavily financially invested into my fight career. My dad's
Yeah.
my basically manager.
Yeah.
And
And his investment.
yeah, and so I was like, I appreciate the insight, but I'm gonna probably just keep doing this. He's like, well, I'm just putting it out there. He's like, you can always fight later, but if you focus on winning titles, get a black belt under me, you'll be able to have a career the rest of your life. Because
Hmm.
fighting is not a career the rest of your life, unfortunately. Some of these guys can be for commentary and owning gyms and stuff,
Yeah.
but you know where I'm going with this.
It's real.
It's real. And at the time, it was a really small percentage if you were going to make money fighting,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and so, I took it to heart and I had a hard sparring session, um, that I was sparring a guy from the Ultimate Fighter that he was a 85er, but he's,
Mm.
not in camp. So he's probably
Yeah. So
200 something, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He
I
might
was fighting
be
155 to 170,
mm.
right? And, Rob Kamen, a Dutch kickboxing instructor, was there,
Yo,
helping out.
Rob Kamen. Yo, y'all
Rest
don't
in peace.
understand.
Yeah.
Yo, rest in peace, Rob Kamen, man. You
Yeah.
know what, man? I interviewed him once, and bro, the chip got damaged. I never
Yeah.
got to drop it. It was heartbreaking because
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite. It was one of the first interviews I did for Bishop Chronicles, but I met him and I never saw him again. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Rob Kamen is just a knockout.
Yeah. He great dude, and we were in the cage. I was boxing the guy up a little bit, and he's bigger than me. And obviously, I think I just pissed him off a little bit, which is kind of I was like sticking and moving a little bit, and
Yeah.
I hit him kind of. I think if I remember correctly, I hit him in the body, and out of nowhere he faked like he was going to shoot, and then a head kick, boom.
Mm,
And Rob was on the outside, but like the way when stuff gets a little heated, you could hear the smacks if it's
oh,
turning up a little bit.
totally.
And we were supposed to be kind of like moderately sparring, nothing too crazy, but he
Yeah. Why
kicked
would
me
you do
square
that?
in the head like hard, and it wobbled me. And then Rob came in the cage, and he's like, pushed the guy back on the cage. He's like, "Hey man, he's a fucking 155 or 170. What are you doing? You're way bigger than him. Like, you guys need to like calm down." And then I'm being tough, so I was like, "No, no, no, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it."
Yeah.
And then we finished the round out and then finished the session out. And then I got clipped again just with like a light touch later on in a different round.
Yeah.
I was like, man, you hear that woo kind of a little
Yeah.
bit, but a little bit
Question.
too easy at that point. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's a little weird. Well, I got rocked earlier, it's not a big deal. And then I remember being in the shower and feeling a little like loopy. And I was like, okay, not a big deal. It's nothing I haven't been through.
Yeah.
Then I got in the car, started driving down the 101. I get by SFO and I was on the phone with somebody at the time. And I just remember being on the phone, driving and forgetting what I was like, how to drive, who I was.
No kidding.
I couldn't tell if I was dreaming. Like, I just remember being in the fast lane, like in and
Whoa.
out of like, like conscious, not like I was
Yeah.
passing out, but like in and out of like, I didn't know who I
Clarity.
was, what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
clarity. And I immediately knew, like, it was like, I need to get the hell off the road. Like when I would come to, it'd be like, I would
Yeah.
know what I'm doing, not know what I'm doing, know what I'm doing. And then
Ooh.
I somehow got off the edge of the got off the freeway. And I just grabbed my like gallon of water and started pouring it all over my face, drinking
Yeah.
water. And my phone shut off. This is before Face ID and the thumb thing. So I couldn't get in my phone, right? Like I didn't know my password. And then luckily my friend called me back and I was able to answer it. He was like, "Hey, just chill, like relax,
Yeah,
like where
correct.
are you?" You know, and I probably sat on the edge of the road for like 45 minutes just drinking water, got hydrated, and started feeling better and drove home. And I, I want to say that was like on a Wednesday. By Sunday, it was like Easter. I remember going specifically to brunch with my dad, and I'm like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna pause fighting and focus on jiu-jitsu."
Yeah,
And I know it kind of disappointed my dad, and not in a standpoint of like he saw so much potential and gain that I was doing.
yeah.
He didn't see how the jiu-jitsu,
Was
there
gonna
was no like super fights like there's now and
have
like all this.
value. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And so he's gonna be a supportive dad and listen to that. And so he just switched his motive to like, all right, we're gonna go all in on you're gonna compete all over the place and just, making that work. And
Hey, can I just
those
say, man, shout out to your pops, bro.
thank you.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's really beautiful, dude. Like the only other person that I'm aware of that had support like that was BJ Penn. You know, BJ Penn's dad was in
Yeah.
at a time when there was so little.
Yeah.
Like it's so crazy, especially like given his parents' background. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they were really all in, man. Your dad was all in, man. That's cool, bro.
Yeah, and because my folks are split, I think he missed out a lot on my childhood. So it was like making up for lost time. So
That's
just
beautiful.
trying to not cut him short from that. So I was like, once I started the jiu-jitsu journey and then he started seeing me win more things and more titles, it just became even crazier because he was seeing it like come to fruition and that there is the sport's growing. Um, and then, yeah, at that point, my dad was, the dad that could tell you the whole point system, knows everything, but
Yeah.
he doesn't even train. So it's crazy. It's very fascinating that he knows so much, but doesn't train. He trained boxing, but other
Yeah.
than that, the guy's just analyzing stuff. He's smart. So.
Wow, dude. That's dope.
But
That's
yeah, and then I just listened to Kyle, and within that first year of pausing my fight career is when I won double gold on Nogi Worlds. And
damn.
so I won lightweight division, and then I won the open weight division as a lightweight. And my first two matches were like an ultra heavyweight and a heavyweight. Um,
Yeah.
and being a lightweight was,
What did that feel like?
162.
Were you
So check this out on a not to like say anything ill-intention at all. I
all good?
event
No pressure, sweat.
I eventually because I was training so much at Kyle's, I'm, living with Leo at this point in the
Yeah.
gym. We had like this upstairs rafter, kind of like
Okay.
how the guys were at Pedigo. I lived in the gym.
Oh, the
Um,
OTM, the old OTM.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a little loft upstairs, kind of like even how Carrie Ann and Gil had it back in the first spot.
Yeah.
So we had like an upstairs loft. And I just was missing practices. I was teaching Muay Thai at Kyle's, training at Kyle's. So I was just missing my original coach's gym a lot. And he was like, "Hey, I think it'd be good if you just train with Kyle and you know, uh, kind of just part ways a little bit in a nice way.
Yeah. It wasn't gonna.
And I'm sure it was hard for him too. It's he helped me get so much success and helped me out so much when I needed so much help, and I'm sure that was tough for him. But again, I'm very thankful for him doing that because I was able to pursue more titles, more things that are bettering my life to be a successful gym owner and coach, and
Mm-hmm.
still, as a great athlete. So,
Dude,
um,
it's really cool that you're expressing that gratitude, bro. I feel like a lot of times, um, fractures happen and that, it's important that it's not beef. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's important
yeah,
that it's not beef. And it's important that I think the students, salute their instructor. You know what I mean? Especially if it didn't end crazy.
yeah, yeah. If it didn't end crazy, then I could see people having, but even then, like as you get older, you learn forgiveness, man. Like I
Yeah.
was holding, for a while I was had a little animosity, but then like look at the big picture. Like now I've gone, when I got my black belt, I went to go train with Leo.
Yeah.
I go, because the whole, collecting Pokemon cards and all that stuff. I go give his son bunch of, gave him a slab, a bunch of cards and stuff. So
Yeah.
we've rekindled our relationship. Very happy. He's moving into another big space, growing from his gym. So
Wow.
very happy for him, and he's happy for my space. And
Yeah,
so
man.
time will heal, bro. So
I believe it. You know what I mean? And people, especially in jiu-jitsu, you have different levels of expectations and hopes, and life just changes a lot of that, and it doesn't have to be, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like super, super
life's too short to hold so much any resentment or something just stupid.
no, I agree, dog. Like
And so, yeah, just kept training with Kyle. Won, pans at brown belt, won, some super fights and, got to travel around the world and do all that stuff. So, um, yeah, I mean, even now, like just it shocks me like having a instructional on BJJ Fanatics.
how
And
cool is that? Talk about that.
it,
What did you show? Because
I,
I
s-
know you
I
had
have
it
a,
up there because that's dope.
yeah, I have a, because, when I was coming up, everyone knew me for triangles. So I was triangling people all the time with my long
Sure.
legs. Like
Yeah,
now I do leg locks and all this other stuff, but at the time it's triangles for my closed guard, and not a lot of people, it's closed guards. Like what? And
man.
so um I named my instructional Bermuda Triangle or
Yo, I'm
Bermuda
getting it,
Triangles.
yo.
So
I'm gonna go get it. Like I'm
thank
legit
you.
gonna get it because like um I think that in these times there's certain people that win so much, you should want to know how they do what they do. You're
Yeah.
definitely one of those dudes. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
thank you.
Like when I watch you, regardless, I'm always like I'm paying attention to how clean it is. I'm paying attention like when you explain technique. So I'm gonna go get that, man. I'm gonna
Thank
go.
you, man.
That's great.
And I there's some guys that will they kind of throw in some fluff or they show some of their game, but they don't show you all of it.
Yeah.
Man, I threw out everything I use and do. So um I wasn't trying to hold back on anything. And
Yeah.
I think it was just crazy because the filmer from BJ Fanatics goes, you'd be surprised the sales that come in or when you see the reviews, there's like people from rural parts of America or even different parts of the country or different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And I recently went to go read the reviews and I'm like, dude, this is so cool to like see such a anonymous person. Sometimes their name's on there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's cool. And it's cool to see people saying how it was easy, them to retain everything and practice the
Dope.
moves.
That's
So now
dope.
we're touching in what someone I haven't even met is able to use something I've shown. So that such a crazy thing. And now for the rest of my life, even when I'm not here ever again,
Yeah.
there's a digital archive or a digital hieroglyphic on the
Yeah.
interweb. So
How you saw, competed, and taught.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That's beautiful, dude. When you think about well, real quick, I do always like to say, so the day you got your black belt, can you talk about that? Talk about
yeah,
what happened and how you felt.
yeah. So I remember we did our first black belt test. We didn't pass. We were close, but we didn't pass. And then Kyle made us study some more. And when having ADHD, I hyper focus on something I like, I'll hyper focus. I studied like crazy
Mm,
to the point when we went back for testing. Kyle was really impressed because even when he gave us our belts, he said that he was impressed that I was the one to actually narrow down and fix everything that he wanted
yeah.
us to fix.
Yeah.
I surprised them, and I remembered he's like, "Hey, belt promotions are this, invite your family, all that kind of stuff." So leading up to it, I started having all sorts of emotions and feelings because it's just I didn't want like it was like you wanted to pause it because you didn't realize how quick it went. Even though I got my black belt, I think in like 7 years.
Yeah.
So, um,
That's pretty quick, dog.
yeah, but also long. But some people it's even longer.
Hey,
So
mine was forever, dog. Like
yeah,
for real, because I was training stuff, especially once you have kids and stuff.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But yeah.
So, yeah, it was kind of like a long journey, and now it's kind of crazy because when we were going in, I didn't know people were gonna have to do a speech, and I thought like man, what do I want to say? Like, so I had to sit down and write down kind of like what I wanted to touch on and like what jiu-jitsu really meant to me, the
Mm,
people that were impactful to me, and hopefully it can resonate with someone. And I remember him calling me up, and I had my mom there, my grandma, and a bunch of family. I got to thank my mom. My unfortunately my pops wasn't able to be there, but thanking my mom specifically because she sparked my curiosity for martial arts at a young age.
wow.
She put me in karate, Kempo karate when I was, 5 or 6, and I stuck with it till I was about 8. And
Okay. Yeah.
I said my mom never took me to karate. I don't think I would ever be into martial arts. So let's start with
Right.
that. And
That's so dope,
you
bro.
start recalling stuff that you've forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
And something like jiu-jitsu, I mean, truly saved my life. It gave me direction.
Yeah, like what do you
Especially
think
as
you would have done, bro? Like what do you think the move would
to
have
be
been?
honest with you, man, I don't know. I was doing video stuff. I was working at Hewlett Packard doing webcasting for them
Oh,
before I went full into fighting and jiu-jitsu.
yeah.
But yeah, I'd probably be in tech, man. And not to say that people in tech aren't, happy, but I feel
Yeah.
like I would have been just a hamster in a cubicle, not really happy, man.
Smart. Yeah.
So
Agree.
um yeah, I genuinely think this saved my mental health and gave me a purpose. And I genuinely felt from that MMA fight that I had at 10:15 Folsom and everything after, it was like, again, going back to what we're talking about, the spiritual side of things, I just felt like the universe saying, you're supposed to be doing this,
Yeah.
you know?
You're in your
Not
purpose. You're living it out for real.
for real. Yeah. Not like, I was going to school for film and stuff. It felt right. I liked it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like, it was more like, it didn't like make me so over the top, like joyful all the time. Cause, editing can be a little stressful sometimes. Not like jujitsu can't, but like
For sure
it's
though.
very, very different.
Yeah, it is. It is very different.
But
Yeah.
this, like I said, this just felt so right to be doing that. But more importantly, I knew as a blue belt when I got the opportunity to help with the beginner classes that I enjoyed teaching people.
Hmm.
So not only did I love competing, but I loved teaching people. And I don't know where that really genuinely came from, but um, especially because I used to suck at public speaking, and now
Yeah.
I don't, it doesn't bother me at all, but practice makes perfect, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I knew at a blue belt stage that I was going to own a gym one day. Like I just
You're like, this is me.
yeah, like I always told people I'm going to have a gym one day. Like I'm going to get a black belt, I'm going to get a gym.
Mm.
And then as I became a personal trainer over time to make money while I'm moving around my training schedule, I was able to really like manifest that and then start to be like, well, I want this in my gym, not just jiu-jitsu. Now I
Yeah.
could open up to a broader, community of people
Yeah.
and revenue and all that kind of stuff. And now I have a beautiful space with my partner in Palo Alto. So it's a huge facility. The grand opening would be in about a month. So
All right.
we've been
I'll fly
soft
by,
open.
dog.
So
I should be
yeah.
around. I'm gonna come check you out, dog. Like, I really appreciate you, man. We always talk well and kick it when we don't get to kick it as often as,
Yeah.
either one of us would like. But I just want to say how much I really do respect you as a competitor and as a coach, right? Thank you for sharing your story. When you think about your journey, what do you think people who are starting, say white and blue belts, like if you could give them like maybe two pieces of advice, what would they be?
Don't chase belts and don't compare yourself to others. I know it's like so easy to say that shit, but nowadays it's just like between social media and just materialistic crap. I think you need to just remind yourself that you're doing this for you. You're not doing this to be cool on social media or to be cool in front of people. I think if you just use that time to disconnect, I mean, there's not a lot of things left in this world where you're not having your cell phone in your hand every 5 seconds. So the fact that we're able to like put it down and for 60 to 90 minutes be very present with your training partner and your teammates. Value that. There's not a lot of that stuff left in the world to just be disconnected and present for an hour or more, you know. Really enjoy it. Ask questions. Even if you're a white belt, ask questions. We don't, as instructors say, does anyone have any questions? Yes, it's intimidating if you're in a room of 20, 30 people and you're at the lowest belt. You don't want to raise your hand and make everyone annoyed. But guess what? If you don't ask those questions, you're not going to get the answers because sometimes the higher belts don't want to answer them for you either.
For
Or it might not
real.
be the right answer.
That's that's a really good point, man. Thank you so much. Tell people where to get at you on social media and
Yeah.
anything else you got going on or coming up.
Yeah, you guys can follow me at B Silva Jiu-Jitsu on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, I have stay tuned for the True Movement grand opening in Palo Alto. We have a recovery room, cold plunge, sauna, Normatec lymphatic drainage system, showers. Not every gym has shower. We have showers, change rooms, all that good stuff. Weight room, fully equipped and upstairs with kickboxing, yoga, strength conditioning classes, and so much more. So, yeah, I look forward to bringing the Bay Area a new level of what a gym should be in this world for combat sports and just wellness, you know.
That's dope. I am hyped, bro. Like right now, I'm trying to kick it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna do everything I can to be there at the grand opening, man. Congratulations for all you've done. Congratulations for all that's on the way, man. All right. All right, y'all.
Absolutely.
That's Bishop Chronicles. You know what it is. Send this to your homies. Stop playing. You know this was a dope conversation. Don't be weird, bro. Send this show to your homies, right? Because it was fresh. All right, man. One love, peace to the planet. Hold on, let me try to get this thing to stop. Peace.
Perfect. Yes, sir.